Okay, long enough to cover the subject, short enough to keep it interesting. Welcome to another Sunday Night Live edition of Out of My League. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what the job is for you. You know the drill. Hit the like button. And also, we have a new sponsor, BetUS.com. BetUS.com reached out. They're now sponsoring this show. You'll see that for every episode. And all you got to do, if you haven't signed up yet, is click the link. I posted it here in the chat. I pinned it up here in the chat. I've also posted it here in the description page, and also later I'll post it in the comment section as well. So if you do me a favor, support our new sponsor, BetUS.com. BetUS.com. Just click the link, and it's a specialty link made just for me. No promo codes, nothing like that. Just click on the link that I gave you, and it'll help me out greatly. And they do all your favorite sports. NFL season just around the corner, and you can bet on all your favorite same-game parlays, live in-game live betting, all that good stuff at BetUS.com. I'm more of an in-game live kind of better. Got my dad hooked to it last year, and BetUS.com is the way to go. So, okay, what are we going to talk about? I wonder. So by now you've all heard the news. John Emery. Nick, you are fading out. Uh-oh. I'm fading out. Your audio is a bit buggy. How about now? How about now? Yes, audio is off. Right, hold on, let me get a new thing. This. Testing. 3, 2, 1. How we good? We good, Chuck? Sups up? How we doing? Thumbs up if you can, if the audio is better. I'll wait. Stop. That's not what I want to hear. It's choppy. Well, damn it. Oh, mayonnaise. Okay, Daryl, good. Still bad. Some people say still bad. Some people say it's okay. Uncle Daryl says it's okay. Mayonnaise Kid says it's okay. PLG says it's okay. It's better. That's better. Okay, good. All right. If some of you all are having trouble, sorry, but a lot of people are saying it's better. Okay, all good. So again, what are we going to talk about? I wonder. 50 people watching, 18 likes. Smash the like button. BetUS.com. If you didn't hear me, BetUS is our new sponsor. It's pinned. The link is pinned to the chat. It's also in the description as well. All you got to do is do me a favor, hit the link that they specially made for me and our new sponsor, BetUS.com. All your favorite sports, live game betting, same game parlays, all that good stuff. BetUS.com. Okay. The Mayonnaise Kid. Cardinals are wearing black, and the sexiest thing in that stadium is Erin Andrews. Erin Andrews, she's still around, huh? She has not aged a day. Some people are just lucky that way. So, as most of you have heard, John Emery is suspended for the first 2 games of the season. Home opener against Southern, and of course the season opener in the Dome against Florida State. Right off the bat, it's not like I'm preaching to a congregation. I'm preaching to the choir. You are all LSU fans. I don't have to yell and scream and get all angry because I'm preaching to the choir. You know it's bullshit that he's getting suspended. Now, the analyst podcaster in me, who tries to be objective as possible and not tries to come off as a homer, because I don't want to be a homer, even though I'm a fan. The podcaster in me says, okay, look, rules are rules. I understand why the NCAA suspended him last year. I get it. I don't care whose fault it was, even though we all know whose fault it was, and it was not John Emery's, and I'll get to that in a second. But what's the point anymore? Like I was talking to Preston Guy, he does a great job for for TigerBait.com. I was talking to him on his show last week, and Kai Preen, the new wide receiver commit for LSU, he may be ineligible because he went from Ascension Catholic to St. James in Vacherie, and the LHSAA is going to rule him ineligible. And Preston was like, "Okay, what is the point of denying a child in high school not to participate in a sport? Like, I don't, I understand maybe there's recruiting angles to it that I understand, but I've never understood that part of it. But when it comes to John Emery, whoever you want to blame, and I have people I want to blame, he sat out all of last season. Like, what's this 2 other games? Unless there's some arbitrary rule where it's like, okay, 15 games, that's an exact number. He sat out technically 13 games if you count the bowl game. He sat out all of last season. And it's made clear why he sat out. It's not like he wasn't going to class. It's not like when he was going to class, he wasn't getting good grades. Mikey Matuk's show, who they're pretty well connected because, Jordy and FM Digital Media and all of them have pretty good connections, that he's got, a 3.8 GPA right now. He had a good GPA before he was suspended last season. This is all some, dopey compliance officer fucked everything up. If you're new here, we do curse. Always have to give that disclaimer because there's always the one turd in the punch bowl in the chat room. I don't know. I don't know. They will appeal. The appeal has not come back. Don Jackson, who I think is the same lawyer who represented Christian Fulton, which is a different situation, but represented Christian Fulton. He applied for a hardship waiver with John Emery last year, and he'll do it again for this suspension as well for the first 2 games. And the hardship waiver is that John Emery had to miss some classes in spring last year, or maybe it was a year before that, where his grandfather died and his father was sick with COVID. Pretty bad, if I'm not mistaken. And so he was kind of back and forth with going to Destrehan and back to Baton Rouge, that he didn't take as many classes that semester. Well, you have to make up certain classes in the summer, but you're not allowed to get a full schedule during the summer because you're only allowed so many hours during each semester. Well, compliance told him everything was okay. Here's how many classes you have to take to catch up. And they fucked up. Because the compliance officers, who I would be surprised if Ryan Kelly hadn't fired their ass, those who were in charge of that. From what I hear, everyone's pretty much gone, all the way down to the secretaries. But whatever. They're going to apply for that as well, that hardship waiver. And he was a model citizen and a model student as well, before all of this and after and since. Whatever. Just NCAA just got to be 2 more games because why not? And if you're worried about how this affects LSU winning against Florida State, obviously they'll beat Southern, with all due respect to Southern. They'll win that game. How does this affect them beating Florida State? Early preview, I don't think it really does. And how does this affect who starts against Florida State? I don't think that really affects it either. Some people have said, does this affect, does Jaden Daniels get more snaps in that game because John Emery's out? No, because I think the offensive line's the bigger deal. And I think Noah Kane and Armani Goodwin looked really, really good in practice. Another thing, an early preview with Florida State that I've noticed is that these are Florida State beat writers that I've heard interviews of on 104.5 ESPN and other channels on YouTube discussing the weaknesses and strengths of Florida State, and just a little research that I've done. I don't know how Florida State's going to score against LSU. I mean, I think it was Matt Moscona last week. I don't listen to his show too much, even though I interned with him. Um, but when he has like interviews from like different teams or different reporters, I try to catch those interviews, just get as much information as possible. And the Florida State beat writer was like, "How's the offensive line doing?" And he was like, it's better. It's better. Now the last 2 years, it's been horrendous. The worst it's been in since probably before Bobby Bowden was there. Is how bad that offensive line had gotten. And they're like, "Well, has it improved?" And he's like, it's better. It's gonna be okay. It's getting there. It's not gonna be worse. Can't get any worse." And I'm just sitting there thinking, y'all are fucked. And then they said, "What's the biggest weakness of the team?" And he didn't say offensive line. He said, "Well, wide receiver." So, okay, your offensive line is not worse. That's the best thing you have to say about your offensive line, which is the worst offensive line they've had in the last 40 years before pre Bobby Bowden. And yet your biggest weakness on the team is receivers. And the only thing that's holding back your quarterback has been the fact that he hasn't had enough wide receivers and offensive line to throw to. I don't know how Florida State's going to score. So I don't really think having John Emery in that game matters. I don't think necessarily LSU blows them out. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But I don't see how Florida State's going to score consistently against that LSU front line. I don't know how they're going to block them. I just don't at all. I think LSU can play a conservative either way and win that game, which is why that QB battle will go far into the season. We'll get to that in a second. Let me get some of these comments and then we'll catch up. Okay. Caleb, John Emery stems from last year. He's been focused this year. Mike Wagon's back. Choppy. Yeah, I don't know. It might be just you. Yeah, my engineer says it's all fine now, but I changed my mic. Everyone else says it's okay. The mayonnaise kid. How did last year's academic issues affect this year? I don't know. My guess is that they said 15 games. I don't think the NCAA says, "Oh, you're suspended for the season" or "you're suspended for the rest of the season." I think my guess is that the NCAA says if you don't have academic eligibility issues, or if you do, it's 15 games. Well, 13 was last year if you count the bowl game, and then two more would be 15, which is a nice sort of exact, number. That's my guess. Either way, whatever. I'm guessing, by the way. I'm totally guessing. I don't know the reason why it's just randomly two games. PLG. So who's the other guy suspended? Was he going to be a big contributor? Yes. Rodarius Jones, the cornerback for LSU, he's suspended this entire season for academic issues per Brody Miller. No, he will not be a big contributor. He's running third team, from my understanding, second or third team, but he's not going to contribute. And he was going to get pushed over besides the freshmen coming in anyway. Like with Terrence Welsh and Jalen Davis Robinson have already, Brian Kelly has mentioned their name multiple times now, and they were going to pass that guy up. But again, it's another body that you lose. Sounds like your internet is acting up. I don't know what you can do about it. Yeah, I don't know either. I'm sorry, y'all. Good evening from Colorado Springs. Earl Morgan. I'm feeling a bit better about Jaden Daniels. For the thin guy, he held up well. Can he win consistently? Okay, we'll get to that. Brad's still choppy. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm really sorry. My internet's fine. My internet's fine. I don't know what it is. I mean, my internet's working well. Okay. So as far as Jaden Daniels is concerned, I do think he'll start, which is what I've said this entire time. I never said that Nussmeier would start the first game. I've always said since the end of spring, when I saw that Garrett Nussmeier was really in this competition, and he still is. Um, I've always said that one of the veterans, either Jay Daniels or Miles Brennan, preferably Jay Daniels, because why would you bring him in, was going to be the starter, and Garrett Nussmeier was going to um, trade snaps with him, be a two quarterback system between the older guy and the younger guy. That's what I've said all along, and it sounds like it's a tie. And from the stuff that's being leaked out, because former players were able to watch the scrimmage portion of practice yesterday on Saturday in Tiger Stadium, that leaked out. Um, Nuss had a really, great day and is making good decisions. Mikey Matuk, who's, they're well connected. His dad played at LSU. He's a former athlete. Rohan Davey worked for them. He was there. So they're well sourced. And it wouldn't surprise me if Rohan gave him this information that Nuss had a great day. They both split the 1 reps, and it's just a tie. Like Nuss isn't showing issues with reads or decision making. Jade Daniels has improved his footwork like they wanted him to. It's a tie. And in this situation, the tiebreaker goes to the veteran who has started more games. In this case, Jaden Daniels has started 30 games. Garrett Nussmeier has started 0 games. So that makes sense. But, I'm not on the Nuss bus. I'm simply touring the Nuss bus, shall we say. I'm at the dealership before I get on that, bandwagon. I'm just simply off the Jaden Daniels bandwagon until I see otherwise. But my theory is that this will be the 4th time in Brian Kelly's career that he'll have a dual quarterback system. And the young guy eventually at some point in the season takes over. Because the only reason why the young guy is not starting full time is because the young guy doesn't have experience. 2012 with Everett Golson and Tommy Reese, 2015 with Malik Zaire and Deshaun Kaiser, and then 2017 and even 2018 as well with Brandon Wimbush and Ian Book. So that's what I think is going to happen. If, does Nussmeier take over full time at any point? I don't know. But it sounds like both will play. And it honestly sounds like Brian Kelly's kind of pissed off that one of them just didn't take the reins. I think he's frustrated that this has to be a 2 quarterback system. But whatever. It is what it is. And by the way, as far as it comes to Jaden Daniels' weight, I understand that concern, but I said all the way back in spring, and you can go find the episode if you want. I've never been concerned about Jaden Daniels being able to take a hit or stay healthy, because to me, size isn't always a determined factor of whether or not you get hurt or not. It's really bone structure and genetics. Well, Jaden Daniels, I know he's not going up against Alabama's defense or Auburn's defense or Florida's defense in the Pac-12, but he ran a lot at Arizona State. So I just don't see how a guy who took that many hits and was smart about it and ran as much as he did and got hit as much as he did as well behind a bad offensive line is going to have injury problems now. Now, can he get injured? Yeah, of course, anybody can. Knock on wood that he doesn't, because then you're just, down to 2 quarterbacks who are a freshman and a redshirt freshman. You don't want that. But, yeah. And as far as can he win consistently, we'll see. It's just, I have my criticisms. I've made them clear why. Now it's just sort of a wait and see. Okay. Smash that like button. Smash that like button. 102 people watching. Thank you so much. So much. 40 people watching. Hit the like button. It really helps me out. And if you're new, if you're just getting here, we have a new sponsor, sponsored by BetUS.com. They're our new sponsor for Out of My League. I've put the link here in the chat. All you got to do, if you want to bet on your favorite sports, bet same-game parlays, in-game live betting, which is my personal favorite. I got my dad hooked on it last year. And then also just any sport you want. NFL, Major League Baseball, playoffs are about to start. NBA be coming up later this fall as well. And you can bet on it now. BetUS.com. BetUS.com. All you got to do is click the link that I put in the chat. I put the link also in the description, and I'll later put it in the YouTube comment section as well. You'll see that from here on out, from all of our videos until further notice whenever whenever it ends. So betus.com. Click the link, special link that they made just for me. Um, okay. Wacky Chris. Good evening, Nick. Judging by the title of the stream, did Brian Kelly announce both will play? Yes, he announced both will play. So he announced it on Saturday, yesterday, at the press conference, and then LSU released a interview with Emily Dixon, whatever it's called. Uh, God, like it's like Emily Dixon's little 4 minute, 5 minute interviews that she does with the coach. Um, yeah, final scrimmage report with Brian Kelly. He basically reiterated that both quarterbacks are going to play, and he said both quarterbacks. He even added to his comments Saturday. He said, as far as who starts, he said, "quote You're splitting hairs." That's a direct quote from Brian Kelly with Emily Dixon. They posted it on LSU's page. You're splitting hairs. And then he said both quarterbacks are probably going to play, and I wouldn't be surprised if both contribute this season. It's a tie. So who has more potential? Obviously, Garrett Nussmeier has the better arm talent. I don't think you have to be a genius to figure that out. But that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be the better quarterback this year. All it means is that they don't trust him yet. It's a tie. They probably trust Jay Daniels because he hasn't really made bad decisions at Arizona State. I think most of his interceptions were just either inaccurate throws that got away from him or tipped balls or just great defensive plays and stuff like that. And I never really saw anything that was Jay Daniels had an IQ problem above the head. He seems like a smart, calm, collected quarterback. So I think that's really what it comes down to, and the fact that he's a great runner and he can throw a great deep ball and make good plays, and so that's really what it is. They don't know who to trust, and so Jay Daniels probably going to be the tiebreaker, but we're going to have a 2 quarterback system. Just accept it. We will have a 2 quarterback system, whether you like it or not. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not inherently a bad thing. You just got to have a good coach who knows how to do it. And I trust Brian Kelly. This is like the 4th time he's done it since Notre Dame. I assure you he's done it other times at his career at Grand Valley State, maybe Central Michigan. I don't think he did one. I think he did one like halfway through his last year at Cincinnati when his starting quarterback was hurt. Tony Pike, if y'all remember him. Yeah, but I trust Brian Kelly to handle the quarterback situation. We'll see. Still choppy. Sorry. Kidrick 7. Nick, do you think 9 wins is possible? I believe a coach like Brian Kelly and our talent, it could happen. Yes, I believe it doesn't matter. I trust. I don't think the quarterback determines whether LSU wins 9 games. I think the offensive line will determine that, and I think the depth, how injury prone this team will be. Something we have not mentioned. There have been no big injuries in spring or fall camp. Major injuries, season ending. I can't speak today. I talk for a living. Chalk it up now. Don't jinx it. Knock on wood. But yeah, it's going to come down to depth, which Brian Kelly is good at keeping his guys healthy. If you look at his past few years at Notre Dame, he's got that science down to sort of science. And him and his weight training staff have really specialized in that. So that's really what it's going to come down to. Not the quarterbacks, because I think both of them are talented enough to get to 9 wins. It's just the offensive line and how healthy they stay. That's really it. Brad Boudreaux, Nick, FSU picked up a transfer portal wide receiver from Arizona State, 6'7", 225. Yes, big guy. But he wasn't their best transfer pickup. They got some other guy from some other school. I forget where it was. But anyway, their biggest transfer pickup on offense was another wide receiver. He unfortunately tore his ACL, and he's out for the season. or he got some kind of season-ending injury. So the Arizona State guy, yeah, he's big and he's playing well in camp, but I, there's a reason why that guy transferred. There's a reason why he transferred. He's going to Florida State, and unless he's Keyshawn Booty or Booty, excuse me, unless he's Keyshawn Booty, I'm not. Even then, I'm like, well, how are you going to score if you can't block and there's nobody else open? So they'll just double team him. Uncle Daryl, loud and clear in here. Awesome, thank you. All right. Let's see here. Let's get some more of these comments. Chuck Gerard, but the NCAA says that a season is a 13 games is a season. I don't know. See, when he's going to go, look, John Emery is going to appeal that hearing, but he's going to have the two Bobs from Office Space listening to that appeal. So good fucking luck. Johnny Wilson, very solid player out of Cali. He was an LSU target in the past. Oh yeah, I heard he's really good, Brian. It's just, is that enough when the rest of your offense outside of the quarterback, who's just fine, who's middle of the road when he has help? I just don't think that's good enough. Like, I don't think y'all understand how bad the Florida State offensive line is and how truly good LSU's defensive line is. And the fact that they have no other receivers to help out Johnny Wilson from California, 6'7" guy. You know, it's just like, you can't do it by yourself. You got to do it multiple people. BK takeover. Either quarterback will have a relatively short leash, in my opinion. I don't know. It depends. I think they're going to be very conservative with them and the kind of ease. Okay, so they're going to be conservative with these quarterbacks early on. One, because Florida State's going to have trouble scoring, and Brian Kelly probably knows this. Two, you're breaking in a young, new offensive line that has a new center that's never played center before. So you're going to want to ease them in and not get them in and as mini pass protection, because a lot of the practice reports have been that they're better in run blocking than pass blocking, which is typical for a new offensive line. And then thirdly, you got to keep the confidence of your quarterbacks intact, and you have great wide receivers. So I think you're going to have a conservative game plan for the most part against Florida State. And then obviously with, the Southern game, you don't have to show a lot in that game either, just because of the talent discrepancy. With all due respect to Southern, it's just it is what it is. But I think the Mississippi State game, I think they're going to use them relative to their skill set, and ultimately they're going to see how well they've improved in the games. You do it in practice, well, you do it in the games when the lights come on, when you know you're going to get hit. When you don't know exactly what the defense is going to do because you didn't scout them all week in practice. This is going to be a little bit of a surprise. They're going to show you some things, 100,000 people in the stands, all that stuff. So short leash, maybe. But I have to wonder, is this going to be, it's the only comparison I can think of because it's happened at LSU. Is this going to be a Jordan Jefferson, Jarrett Lee, even though they're both different quarterbacks in my opinion? Or is where, Les Miles just didn't know what to do with either one of them and says, okay, you screwed up, now you go in. Okay, you screwed up, now you go in. Or is this going to be more like a Matt Flynn, Ryan Perlew type situation where each one of them have a very specific skill set and they use them in packages or situations smartly, which is what Gary Croton was allowed to do by Les Miles in 2007. That's going to depend. I'm very interested to see is how they use them. I don't think it's going to be as simple as, hey, you screwed up, you're out. I think it's going to be situational awareness on how they use the quarterbacks. Just me guessing. Who knows? Apparently, the NCAA is saying 15 games is a complete season. How the hell is Arik Gilbert eligible? I don't know. Eric Linden, hey, I just got in. What's up? Doug knows. Gilbert was never suspended. He straight up quit, failed his whole freshman year. I don't know the Eric Gilbert situation or Eric. Mm, Eric Dillon, why did he say John Emery was suspended for 2 games? Doesn't that sound academic? Yes, but it's not for anything he did the past year. It's for everything. It's for the original academic stuff. They're saying 15 games is a full season, and last year they only played 13. LSU did. Mm, I only run, toss, dive. Hey, Les. Hey, we found Les Miles Burner's account. Uh, he says, who's starting at corner? Well, right now, they're calling it short side corner and uh, short side and long side. This is, believe it, what they're calling it. Anyways, the two corners, long side corner is Jarek Bernard Converse. He's been there the entire time throughout fall camp. Currently, the short side corner is a competition between Colby Richardson, Seven Banks, who is still not 100% go right now. He's kind of off and on. They're easing him back in because Brian Kelly doesn't want him to get hurt like he did last year. So they're kind of easing him back in. So it's Colby Richardson, Seven Banks, and Mekhi Gardner are kind of still battling out that opposite corner. And then nickel right now, Brian Kelly says it's a battle between Joe Fouché from Arkansas, or Fuchsia, whatever, and Sage Ryan. So either way, I feel good. I feel a lot better about corner. Yeah, nothing's wrong. John Emery's in good standing. John Emery has a great grade point average. He had a good grade point average before then. This was just the NCAA is still punishing him for last year. Jeffrey Jones, is Brian Kelly done letting the media into practice? Not that I know of, Jeffrey. Chuck Gerard, Insminger, Woodley. There you go. Hodson Gidry, two quarterback systems that worked. Agreed. Yeah. Yeah. LSU's done it before. I was talking about more recent. Um, the Hodson Gidry one was interesting. Of course, this was before my time, but from my understanding is how it went is Hodson would go in for like the first 2 or 3 drives, and then no matter what, Gidry was going in and running option in the fourth drive or third drive. I think they split every 2. So like Hodson had 2, and then Gidry would have 1. Hodson would have 2, and then Gidry would have 1. That's how it went, no matter what. Um, I don't know if I agree with that, but again, that was the thinking at the time. But it worked for its time. I think football is way too complicated nowadays to have that. I think you got to script it out a lot more in detail ahead of time. PLG, if you had to choose one with a gun to your head, who takes more snaps this year, Nussmeier or Daniels? Who takes more snaps? Well, if Nussmeier couldn't run as well as he did, not that he can run as well as Jade Daniels, but you something PLG. I think by season's end, Nussmeier will be the more of the starter full time, but because of the easier schedule that they have early on, I'm going to say in total, Jaden Daniels, because I still think let's say Garrett Nussmeier wins the job in November and he becomes a full-time starter in November. They're still going to use Jaden Daniels in packages in that situation because he's too athletic of a runner if that were to happen. So because of that, you would add up maybe Jaden Daniels would take more total snaps because right now he would be the de facto starter because the veteran is usually the tiebreaker and he's the veteran with more experience. But I don't know. I mean, he could. I don't know. Uh, it depends on. I question how much you can improve in a 6 months time of, or even less than 6 months of changing your footwork and your accuracy, which was not good. even when he had a clean pocket, and even when wide receivers were open, and even when he had great wide receivers in 2019, like Brandon Ayuk, um, it still was inconsistent in the intermediate passing game. I just question I just question how much you can do that in a short amount of time. Maybe he can, but I just have to see it. So I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. All right. 116 people watching, only 66 likes. Get those likes up. Sure do appreciate it. Helps me out, helps you out, all that good stuff. And also our new sponsor. We're now sponsored by betus.com. Betus.com. Same game parlays. You can have in-game betting, live in-game betting. My personal favorite. Me and my dad love that. Got him hooked on it last year. Hasn't stopped. Destroyed his life. He's not a degenerate, but you never know. And you'll be seeing that from now on. But what I would need you to do, help me out, is BetUS specifically made a link just for me and for our sponsorship. All you got to do is click on that link, sign up to BetUS today. I put the link in the chat. It's pinned on top of the chat. I put it in the description box, and I'll put it later in for those of you going to rewatch this later who aren't listening live. Also put it in the YouTube chat as well. No, not YouTube chat. YouTube comment section. So betus.com. Click on my link that I've pinned. I'll have my name and out of my league on it. And just go there and sign up today. betus.com. All your favorite sports at BetUS. I keep on losing my spot. Earl Morgan, do you think the health of the team so far has anything to do with better conditioning? Yes. And also how they practice, and how they stretch, and how they eat, which is also a problem. Brian Kelly takeover. BK takeover. Heard FSU is down to their third string center. Heard that too. Good luck against Mason Smith and Jaquelin Roy. Brandon R. Harrison Jennings. That one wasn't really that wasn't a 2-quarterback system. That was just Les Miles fucking everything up. No. I mean, like, it was strategy. Like, no, these both guys are playing because they both bring something to the table, and it's a tie. But they're both different quarterbacks. Like Hodson and Guidry, Insminger and Woodley, if you go back way when to the 70s. Flynn and Perilou, George Jefferson, Jarrett Lee. Strategic 2-quarterback system, not I'm Les Miles and I can't make up my mind because I don't know how to coach quarterbacks. Uncle Daryl, sucks that for the second year in a row, our opening opponent gets a game under their belt before they play us, but we also get to scout them. Who has the advantage? Whoever has the best players has the advantage, and whoever prepares the best has the advantage. LSU had a horrible coaching staff last year, and they did not prepare them well, and they didn't utilize the talent that they had, plain and simple. But here's the thing, Uncle Daryl, and for everybody listening, for saying who has the advantage. BYU also played a game before they played LSU in 2017 in the Superdome, if you remember. Forget who they played, but they played some scrub school, Little Sisters of the Poor community college at Southeast Western, whatever it was. They played them. Didn't look that great because BYU was horrible that season. And everyone was like, well, who's got the advantage? The team who prepares and has better players. Who's the better coach, Brian Kelly or Mike Norvell? Who has a better roster and more talented roster and more NFL players, LSU or Florida State? So, there's no advantage. It's either way. Delton Doucet, NCAA rulebook calls the regular season 12 games. I don't know what to make of this anymore. Ryan Turner, Wait, wait, hold on. Very well. This would be a top 50 defense against the run. I only run toss dive. Why the hell is it just coming out now about John Emery? Well, it's not just coming out. They've been fighting it this entire time. And, well, they've been fighting it this entire time, and they probably just found out and said, hey, you still got 2 more games left for the suspension. Probably because they were told. Wide side. Thank you, Chuck. Okay, it's the wide side and the short side. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, wide side and short side corner. I only run toss dive. Yes, this is Les Miles' burner account. Well, thank you for joining us, Les Miles. There are no sorority girls in here, sad to say, but you're still welcome. Caleb, FSU has the advantage. Getting the nerves out and playing in an actual game is huge. Going from scrimmage is for months to all of a sudden the games are meaningful is a transition. Maybe, maybe, but look, at the end of the day, the team with the better coach and better, more talented players wins. Big Scarpo, he actually said Greg Brooks and Sage. For nickel, yeah. Well, Greg Brooks has been. Oh, Greg Brooks. Sorry, Joe Fusho. Sorry, Greg Brooks. I mix up those Arkansas guys all the time. Thank you, Big Scrappo. Um, yeah, Greg Brooks, who was the other guy from Arkansas, is battling Sage Ryan apparently for the nickel. But Greg Brooks has been taking first team reps, but apparently Sage Ryan is now making it interesting. Eric Dulon, 9 wins. Do people realize we barely have an offensive line? We almost have totally new secondary. We have some new unproven linebackers, a quarterback that came from a losing team. Other one is inexperienced. Very true. But let me say this. Your offensive line is new, but more talented. Your quarterback situation has a lot of talent and will have better coaching and better everything than their previous stops with Nussmeier last year and obviously Jayden Daniels at Arizona State. Both of them will play. You have the best wide receiver in the country. You have the best defensive line in the country. You have 3 first-round picks on the defensive line and a second-round pick potentially on the defensive line. You have veteran linebackers who, by the way, your second leading tackler last year, Micah Baskerville, is running third team right now. And it's not because of academics or behaviors or anything like that. He's running third team because those linebackers are so deep and that good. You also have Pro Football Focus saying that you are the only school in the country that has 2 top 20 cornerbacks based on grade from last year, based on Pro Football Focus. That's Mekhi Garner, who may not even be a starter, and Jarek Bernard-Converse, who was all Big 12 last year. Not to mention you have Sevyn Banks, who many considered to be an early second-round pick before he got hurt last season. We'll see how that pans out. But your safety room is loaded. Every single safety you have, besides Matthew Langlois, or Lanois, excuse me. Besides Matthew Langlois, every single one of your safeties has either had a full year of being a starter in the SEC, or they're a 4 and 5 star recruit. Every single one. So they're either full year under their belt as a starter plus, or a 4 and 5 star recruit, and you go 3 deep in the safety room. That's including nickel. It's including nickelback. And you have one of the best wide receiving cores, not to mention arguably the best wide receiver, who hasn't even been the best wide receiver in camp. Malik Neighbors has been the best wide receiver in camp. And the running back situation is going to take care of itself regardless, because you're going to win your first 2 games, I think, definitely the one of your first 2 games without John Emery. So he'll be back anyway. The only question is how quickly can this offensive line come together? If the offensive line comes together quickly and this team stays healthy like they have been, they can get to 9 wins. So, no. While they can get to 8 and not get to 9, yeah. But I think they ultimately have too many things going for them. Um, Chuck Gerard, Nick, I love your podcast better than all the others I've listened to. Keep it up. Well, thank you, Chuck. I like a lot of others, a lot of other great ones out there, but I appreciate your comment. Earl Morgan, Hodson and Guidry was not a true two QB system as Hodson was the QB, and boy, was he good. Guidry played a series in the first half and a series in the second. That was it. I'm assuming you were alive then. Um, what I was told on radio by like Ruff and Rodri um, is what I was always told is that it was always like early on when Hodson first took over, he would get like early on when it first started. When it first started, it was he gets two series and then Guidry comes in. Hodson gets two series and then Guidry comes in. And then eventually Hodson just kind of took over and Guidry would come in sporadically. Um, I don't know. But either way, there was a strategic way to go about that. Kind of like a Chris Leak, Tim Tebow, Matt Flynn, Ryan Perriman. Kind of like that. I don't know if that's going to be it this year. Maybe it'll be something different, but we'll see. Doug knows. Norvell did give Kelly a close one last year. True, he did. But that was at Florida State, and I just trust LSU on the line of scrimmage. I just do. But you're right. No, Norvell did give Kelly a close one. But it also, I mean, if we're talking about advantages and disadvantages, Kelly also has an advantage because he played Mike Norvell last year, and he's played Florida State 3 of the last 4 years. So he knows that roster pretty well. I just think LSU's going to win. I'm not saying LSU's going to blow them out, but I think LSU's going to win. Stephen, Fonville hearing running game lacking in scrimmages. Will LSU have a run game this year? Well, it's the camp paradox, Stephen Fonville. The camp paradox, for those of you who haven't heard, is ultimately how do we know our defensive line is that good? How do we know our offensive line is that bad? So, for example, like if your wide receivers in practice are owning your defensive backs every day, well, is it because your defensive backs are that bad or because your wide receivers are just that good? The paradox, camp paradox. How you solve that is, well, what do we know is true? We'll take Kayshon Boutte and Colby Richardson, for example. How do we know Colby Richardson might be the real deal? Well, because he's, not just because he's gained 20 pounds plus since getting on campus, which has helped, but he's going up against Kayshon Boutte, who we know for a fact, we know it's true that Kayshon Boutte is arguably the best wide receiver in the country. And Kayshon Boutte is 100% healthy. He's in the best shape of his life. They said he looks better than he ever has in his entire life. Practice every day, full go, full contact, no stop. Well, Colby Richardson's going up against the ones in practice. 1-on-1s, 7-on-7s, 11-on-11. I don't know if they do 7-on-7s, but you get the point. And he's holding his own. So that's how I kind of know that Colby Richardson's good enough to play in the SEC. Well, when it comes to the offensive line struggling in practice, look who they're going up against. So while we don't know if they're going to be bad, we also can't say they're going to be horrible because they're going up against arguably the most talented defensive line in the country. If you count 1 through 4. Alabama's got the best edge rushers, but 1 through 4 in the middle and everything else, I don't think people realize how good Mason Smith is going to be this year. That's what they're going up against. So is our run game could be lacking? Yeah. I've heard they're better in run protection than they are in pass protection, or run blocking than pass blocking. But if we can't run the ball this year, if that is true, then you have to ask yourself, is it better to have Jaden Daniels as a runner against an offensive line that can't really run that well? Or is it better to have Garrett Nussmeier, who at any point, at any time, can hit every single slot on the field. It's all about his decision making and experience, but this is kind of the debate that Brian Kelly's having with himself. And the only way to figure that out was just go out and play a game. Ryan Turner, LSU's obvious advantage will be the line of scrimmage, especially defensively, but without John Emery, what's the realistic rushing numbers for LSU's running game versus FSU? I don't really think it changes all that much because, yeah, I don't think it changes all that much. Because Jaden Daniels, I'm guessing he's the starter. I'm guessing, by the way. I'm guessing he's the starter. That adds an extra running dynamic, which he'll have all year anyway, just regardless if he keeps the starting job or not. And I think that Armani Goodwin has been looking great in practice. He took reps with the ones on Wednesday. And Noah Kane has been outplaying all of them in pass catching and in running, not just one. So I don't think the rushing numbers change as much as you think against Florida State. Because really, at the end of the day, it just comes down to the offensive line. It just comes down to the offensive line. That's really what it matters. Okay, 113 people watching, 87 likes. Get those likes up. I appreciate you all. If you're new here, we do this every Sunday night at 8 p.m. I take your questions. We talk for about an hour or so. And smash that like button. Get some more people in here. As we all know, we're slaves to the algorithm. It's all about the algorithm. But we also have a new sponsor on Out of My League. BetUS.com. Visit BetUS.com. All your favorite sports. You can bet on all your favorite sports. NFL, Major League Baseball, playoffs are coming. NBA will be in October already, just around the corner. You can do live bets, in-game live bets, same-game parlays, all that good stuff. They have everything you could want. They do it better than their competitors. But what I need you to do, if you're interested, you want to sign up today, which you should, click on my link that I put up here in the chat. I've also put the link in the description below, and also will later, for those of you going to be watching this later, I'm going to put my link in the YouTube. Why do I always blank on this? The YouTube comment section. They made a special link for me. It says Nick, Out of My League, OML, and so really helps. Really helps. OML Bet US is the link. Put it right there. Click on that and sign up today. It'll help me out as a new sponsor for Out of My League. BetUS.com. Okay, let's get to some more of these comments. Eric Sewer. If we can keep the turnovers down, I see us easily handling Florida State. I predict undefeated until the Tennessee game. That's not out of the realm of possibility. Will it happen? We'll see. I think Mississippi State is going to be the biggest test before Tennessee, even though you have to go to Auburn. But I'm talking like on the field matchup. Mississippi State. Mississippi State's I think Mississippi State's the only team. Maybe it's Alabama, but I think Mississippi State's the only team in the SEC that's returning at least 8 starters on both sides of the field. And they're returning all their coordinators as well. It's usually a sign of things. Nolan Wright, you are so analytical, man. I remember hearing you predicting Brian Kelly coming to LSU as a maybe way before he was announced as head coach. Are you sure that was me? Are you sure that was me, Nolan? Maybe I did. I don't remember that. You know what it probably was? So it was probably like the same week that people were like, oh yeah, LSU reached out to Dabo Swinney, which supposedly they might have. We also look, so what everybody heard was that LSU had reached out to a lot of coaches and Brian Kelly was one of the names listed. But they also that same week said, well, LSU reached out to Dabo Swinney. It was like, okay, just ask. But they basically said, no way. Are you kidding? to the point where like Jamie Howard, when he went up to Notre Dame on the visit with Walker, asked Brian Kelly in his office, like, "Hey, are you interested in the LSU job?" And Brian Kelly supposedly told him, "Yeah, they told me, they asked me, and I said thanks, but no thanks," which was a lie. But now we know that there was some smoke behind it. But I probably just said that in passing because that's what I had heard. But everybody had heard that, and I gave it about that much that much credence. So, but thank you for the kind words, Nolan. Thank you. Love the channel. Thank you, Nolan. Eric, that was a good breakdown, bro. Appreciate that. Thank you. Hey, look, I may be wrong, but I just, mm, let's see. Brian Turner, speaking of matchups, how's LSU secondary versus a rather unknown Florida State wide receiver core? Can we slow down Jordan Travis? That's going to be the question because Florida State is saying that their wide receiving core is their biggest weakness. That's including their offensive line. The biggest concern for Florida State is not their horrible offensive line the last 2 years, which they said will be better, and maybe it will be, is their wide receiving core. Well, the biggest concern for LSU's defense this year in the offseason was cornerbacks. Hmm. And that's with guys like Jarek Bernard-Converse, who was first team all conference in the Big 12. So, another way to help slow down Jordan Travis, the quarterback for Florida State, is you pressure him, which we know LSU can do. So, look, I'm just saying, I just don't know how Florida State is going to score consistently against this LSU defense. If you just look at the matchup, I'm not even saying this LSU defense is going to be as elite as some say it will be. I'm just saying the matchup, it just doesn't really make much sense to say why Florida State's going to have a bunch of success against LSU. Earl Morgan, I'm talking about the 87 team. Oh, yeah, that's different. Oh, yeah, 87. Yeah, well, I think they were talking about like the 86 team when it first happened. Yeah, 87 team, I don't know. Might be talking about different years. Mac, or Hudson was the true starter. Yeah, no, Hudson was always the true starter. Big Scrappo, he got better plays than his last team. He got better players than his last team. LSU's way more talented than Notre Dame. Not on offensive line. Well, tell you the back. They have talent on the offensive line. It's just Notre Dame has a better offensive line in general. I'd say LSU has better defensive line, better wide receivers, better corners and safety. No, well, no, hold on. They had. I'd say that LSU has better because they had that safety who's with the Ravens now. I would say LSU compared to last year's Notre Dame team has better defensive line, better corners, better wide receivers. Yeah, I'd say that. Hmm. My question is, how long can Coach Kelly form a championship squad? 3 years. Doesn't mean he'll win a championship 3 years, but he can do it 3 years. Oh God. Kelly don't know his name. He called him Kobe Dickerson, then called him Kobe Dickerson. Coach O screwed up people's names. That is what it is. Nick Saban screwed up people's names. People don't remember that, but a few times on the sidelines when he was at Miami, he screwed up people's names. Nick, you need to pay your internet bill. LOL, internet stinks tonight. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Can y'all vaguely understand what it is that I'm saying? I just hope yes. Oh, that is your internet, my friend. His audio, the picture is perfect the whole time I've been watching. Yeah, so it must be some of y'all's internet. Most people say the internet for them is fine. They can hear me and see me just great. I've checked my internet on my laptop, my phone, TV. Um, Nothing seems to be a problem. Yeah, my engineer just said it's all good now. Yeah. Uncle Daryl, the worst QB system was when Charlie Mack eventually split time between Paul Leons and Burt All Pro Jones. Not a two QB system fan, but I will endure it until we know who is better, Nuss or Daniels. Yeah, Charlie Mack just was not a great coach. He's the classic example of just an okay coach that was riding the coattails of LSU for a long time. Burt Jones. Why the hell would you have a two QB system with Burt Jones? Whatever. And don't be discouraged. Don't be inherently against two quarterback systems. Don't be discouraged against two quarterback systems. It's how you use them. Good coaching, how you use them. And I trust Brian Kelly knows how to use them because he's had success with them before and he knows how to do it. This will be his fourth one in recent years. Kyle Hamilton was the other safety I was thinking about. Um, Doug knows Jaden has beaten FSU before, 20-14, but he was 12 of 28, 195 yards though. Yeah, stats weren't good, but I don't look at stats. I look at film. Matter of fact, I posted that the other day on Twitter. It's kind of choppy, like it's a crappy video, but you can get the general purpose of it. It's every throw and run Jaden Daniels had against Florida State in 2019. Mike Norvell was up in the booth that day because the previous coach had gotten fired, but he had already been hired to replace as Florida State's head coach. But Florida State was playing in a bowl game against Arizona State that day, and Mike Norvell was up in the booth scouting Florida State and watching Jaden Daniels play that game. Arizona State won, but even with Brandon Ayuk played in that game in that 2019 season, his freshman year. Jane Daniels did not look good. The stats in the film pretty much coincide for that one, even though I don't really look at stats as a tell-all. But yeah, he did not play well. Doesn't mean he'll play bad against FSU this time, but that is something to keep an eye on. Just type up what is it? Jaden Daniels versus FSU. Yeah, so just type in Jaden Daniels versus FSU Sun Bowl 2019. Let me share this. Copy, send the link. There you go. Posted it in the chat. Mississippi State is a huge test. Returned 17 of 22 starters, correct? And the QB Rogers, the cohesion should be great. Yes, and if you look at the history of, I think they're the only team. Maybe Alabama is, but I think that Mississippi State's the only team that returns 8 starters on both sides of the ball, at least 8. And if you look at the history of Mike Leach, his year 3 is usually the year they kind of start to pop. Well, this is year 3 at Mississippi State. So, yeah, I think Mississippi State is another contender to finish second in the West this year. Eric, I know Mike Scarborough. I love Mike Scarborough. On his show, talked about Brian Kelly maybe being the LSU head coach way before he was really on the radar. Mike was pretty in tune, but again, it was so hidden and there was so much noise around everything else that nobody really took it seriously. But I mean, Moscona said that he had heard Brian Kelly's name back in October, but it was for like a couple of days. And it was like, oh yeah, they reached out to Brian Kelly just because fuck it, why not? Mike, I know probably was a little bit more on that than most, but I listened to his show a lot during the coaches search, and I mean Vegas had like 15 names, and Brian Kelly wasn't even on there. This is Vegas, so look, Woodward pulled the wool over everyone's eyes. This is what it is. Chuck Gerard? How do you think LSU scores their first touchdown? Either a running back run in the red zone or Say a running back run, handoff up the middle or some kind, or maybe a like a play action screen pass um, out onto the sidelines, maybe a tight end. I'll tell you one, Mason Taylor. It's kind of a zone read play action, roll out, flip it to him behind the line of scrimmage. He dives in for a touchdown. How about that? Ready today, Stephen Fondo. Ready today that FSU's lost first and second string centers to injury and working on a third string center. Yeah, that makes me like LSU even more. What did Rodarius do? Academics, according to Brody Miller, which was not his issue last year because he played last year. He probably just screwed up um, in the offseason. Who knows? Lamar Stevens, how much different will LSU look without the handicap of incompetent game day coaching operation? A lot. PLG, I'm on Twitter right now, and someone asked if you have the game on the line, would you rather have Herbert or Burrow? Burrow by 100% of the time, and it isn't even close. Yeah, I mean, Herbert is a great quarterback. I'm a huge Justin Herbert fan. He was so underutilized at Oregon. That's why I always disagreed with Mike Scarborough. So one thing I've disagreed on wholeheartedly with Mike Scarborough, but a lot of people did, was he was a big fan of Mario Cristobal because he was a great recruiter and offensive line coach. NFL coaches, I repeat, NFL coaches and scouts who were scouting Justin Herbert said, don't trust what you saw at Oregon with Justin Herbert. He has, I quote, Les Miles 2.0 as his head coach. Fuck that shit. I was never on. I like Justin Herbert, but he was so misused by Oregon. I think Mario Cristobal is going to do well in Miami, but it's because he's hired a good offensive staff to kind of help him in that area. He'll have good defenses. He'll have good, consistent offensive line play, and they'll win games. But he'll probably repeat what he did at Oregon at Miami. Eric, Charlie Mack was more than decent. 9 games out of 11, a lot of years. He just really couldn't beat Bama, and Paul bad Brian is when we got rid of him. Charlie was more than decent. I agree. He was probably look. This is before my time, but I agree he was more than decent. But I also think the LSU job helped extend him to some extent, in the same way it extended Les Miles or Ed Ogeron. In 2020, 2021, LSU beat itself a lot, says Lamar Stevens. Will things be different now that teams will have to beat this team without LSU spotting them for back-breaking plays? Yes. Yes. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Fonzarelli made. My question is, what's a good hole-in-the-wall restaurant for mid-price close to Canal Street? Coming back for the game, but haven't been to NOLA in a very long time. Someone can help my guy Fonzarelli out. I can't find a mid-priced place on Canal Street. I'm not your guy. Screen pass to Booty or QB draw from Jane Daniels. That too. That's another option. But hell, I don't know. But I do think, here's the thing. I think you'll see a lot of runs, and I think you'll see a lot of when Jane Daniels is in short screens, play action, throw the ball deep downfield, but a lot of screens, short passes to these wide receivers, put them in space, let them go make the play, and run the ball, and occasionally take some deep shots downfield, depending on how often Jane Daniels plays, because Jane Daniels does throw a good deep ball. He throws a very good deep ball. Haven't heard any names yet, but who's been running ones as the safeties? So starting two safeties right now are Jay Ward and Major Burns. Major Burns has passed up Joe Fuchsia for that other safety spot. So Jay Ward, Major Burns, and then nickel is right now between Greg Brooks and Sage Ryan. Fire 34. Hey Nick, if Daniels or Nuss suffer a season-ending injury against FSU, does Brian Kelly call Miles? Mm, he may consider it. I don't think it's going to happen. He may consider it. Why not? He knows the offense, but it depends on how much he thinks Walker Howard is ready. Walker Howard has all the talent, but and also it also depends on how many games are left in the season if that happens. But that's a big if. Big if. Bonds really. How has Sage Ryan? I mean, how has he done? Pretty well considering that he was second string and now he's pushing for starter reps at the nickel spot with Greg Brooks. Okay, 99 people watching, 102 likes. We'll finish these comments up as quickly as we can. Remember to sign up for BetUS.com, sponsored for our show, BetUS.com. All your favorite sports, in-game live betting, same-game parlays, all that good stuff. They gave me a special link just for BetUS. BetUS gave me a special link for you to sign up. Helps me out personally. It's put the link here right in the chat. Pinned it up here in the chat. I put it in the description box, and I also put it on the YouTube comment section. See, I remembered it that time. YouTube comment section here on the chat. Sign up for BetUS.com today. Bet all your favorite sports at BetUS.com. Click on my link, OML BetUS, right here in the chat and everywhere else in the description box. BetUS.com. Okay, I'm going to finish this and we'll end it here. Chuck, don't believe anything from Matt. He also said that Bianco would be announced as a baseball coach when he returns from vacation. Then the worm tied to the crawfish run from his statement. Okay. I mean, Ole Miss beat reporters were saying that Bianco was going to be the baseball head coach too. And by the way, so did I. I don't have sources, but if the lead columnist and reporters for Ole Miss are saying Bianco will accept the job at LSU, publicly saying that, I'm saying that there's a reason why. Now, maybe his sources told him the same thing. I don't know. I don't have sources, but I was just going off of what Ole Miss beat reporters were saying. Edwardo, probably not. But if I was Miles, I wouldn't even answer Brian Kelly's call. Oh, maybe you wouldn't, but I think Miles would. I think Miles would. Okay, here you go, Fonz. Eric says Mother's restaurant is pretty close to Canal Street. So Mother's on Canal Street. There you go. Free advertising. PLG, even if he does, why would Miles want to come and be a backup? Well, he wouldn't. He would be the starter because they want a redshirt Garrett Nussbaum. Doug knows. Fuddruckers on Canal Street, Fonz. Miles has to, Eric says Miles has to be going to LSU. They're saying that he is not enrolled yet. Oh, see, okay, see, there's another thing. I think Miles is just done. I think Miles has graduated. I think Miles has gotten his master's degree too. Yeah, so that wouldn't work. Yeah, that wouldn't work. PLG Fuddruckers is legitimate. Look at you, PLG. Houston kid, you have a New Orleans device. Almost every team at my little league has their team parties there. LOL. Miles is a graduate. He could sign up for a Blake bullshit class and he'd be good. True, but it will also depend on when he would go. Like if you got like 2 games left in the season, fuck it, just run Walker Howard out there. He's talented enough. At that point, he'll know the offense and understand it. Just keep it conservative, protect him, and just get to the end of the season. But that's a big if for both your starting quarterbacks to go down. Wait, we're trying to redshirt Nush. Yes, PLG. So for those of you who haven't seen it, Brian Kelly said in his press conference and reiterated it as well in the interview that was posted on LSU's Twitter page with Emily Dixon that yes, the plan right now is to the starters or dual quarterback system to be Jay Daniels, Nussmeyer, Jane Daniels, and their plan is to only use um, Walker Howard in an emergency situation, and the plan is to redshirt him. The plan, Brian Kelly said in the press conference, the plan is to redshirt Walker Howard. Only use him in an emergency situation. Walker, not Nuss. Wait, we're trying to redshirt Nuss. Oh, no. No, we're not trying to redshirt Nuss. No, Nuss is in a quarterback battle. And plus, he redshirted last year. He can't redshirt anymore. PLG. So is he only just going to play in 6 games? No, 4 games. The rule's 4 games. PLG. 4 games. If you play more than 4, then you can't redshirt. Fonz really. I thought he was saying Walker Howard. You get to number 3, you're screwed regardless. Well, they said that about Max Johnson in 2020, and look what happened. So, and plus Walker Howard, I think he's going to be a better quarterback than Max Johnson. More talented, I should say, for sure. All right. I think we're done here. Thank y'all so much. Smash that like button. Sign up for betus.com. It'll be a sponsor for us going forward. Click my little link right there. They signed up just for me. Appreciate all the questions, and I will see y'all next week.